My name is Jessica, and that picture, that's the last photo I have. My sister, Malia, her husband, Michael, and their beautiful son, Thomas. Michael sent it to our family text thread with the caption, Perfect Day at the Park. That was August 4th, 2017. By August 6th, their phones were off, their car was in the driveway, and they were gone. For 7 years, we've held vigils. For 7 years, I've been looking for a kidnapper, but the truth wasn't out there. It was 20 feet beneath the ground, less than a mile from where that selfie was taken. If you've ever loved someone so much that their silence feels like a physical weight, I think this story might resonate with you. Leave a comment if you've ever had that feeling of a mystery just eating you alive. It's 2025 now. For 7 years, my life was divided into two parts. There was before and there was after. Before, I had a sister. After, I had a ghost. Malia was my younger sister, but she was always the more grounded one. I was the dreamer, the one who left for college and never really came back. She was the one who stayed, who built a home, who believed in the simple good things. She was light. When she met Michael, we all thought he was perfect for her. He was sturdy, capable. He was a contractor, a man who could build or fix anything. When their son Thomas was born, I watched my sister become a mother, and it was like seeing the sun find its purpose. That picture, I have the original print of it, the one I made at a drugstore kiosk, in a frame on my nightstand. I've looked at it every single morning for 2,555 days. I've stared into Michael's eyes, trying to find a flicker of something, a hint, a lie. But all I ever saw was a proud dad. I saw my sister, Malia, her smile a little tired, but so full of love. And Thomas, my little nephew, squeezed between them in his bright yellow shirt, just perfect. A perfect family on a perfect day. The after began on August 6th. I was supposed to meet Malia for coffee. She never showed up. I called. Straight to voicemail. I called Michael. Voicemail. I drove to their house. Michael's truck was in the driveway. Malia's car was in the garage. I used the spare key she'd given me, the one hidden under the fake rock by the porch, and the silence that hit me when I opened that door was the loudest sound I've ever heard. The house was pristine. Thomas's sippy cup was on the kitchen counter, half full of apple juice. Their wallets were on the little table by the door. Their phones, we later found out, pinged for the last time near the house, then just stopped. They had vanished, evaporated. The police at first were baffled. No sign of struggle, no note, no missing money. It wasn't a robbery, it wasn't a typical anything. The leading theory, the one that haunted my nightmares, was a targeted home invasion, a kidnapping. We were a normal family. We didn't have enemies. Who would take them? And why? For 7 years, that was the story I told myself. It's the story that lets you function. I organized search parties. I printed flyers with that park selfie on them until the ink ran out. I sat through agonizing interviews on local news begging, if you have them, please just let them go. Just bring Thomas home. I hounded the detective on the case, a man named Riley, until my number probably gave him a headache. Every year, on August 4th, we'd hold a candlelight vigil at that same park, right by the playground you can see in the background of the photo. We'd pray for their return. We'd pray for a sign. I grieved for them as victims. I grieved for Michael, who I assumed had fought to protect his family. I grieved for Malia, my baby sister, and I grieved for Thomas, who would have turned 8 last spring. The not knowing is a special kind of poison. It doesn't kill you. It just rots you from the inside slowly. You can't heal because the wound is still open. Michael, I should talk about Michael. I have to. Because in my hunt for a monster, I never once looked at the man standing right next to her. He was always a little intense. In the last year or two before they disappeared, he'd gotten into prepping. At first it was harmless. He bought a backup generator. He started canning vegetables from their garden. We'd even tease him about it at Thanksgiving. Ready for the zombie apocalypse, Mike? He'd just smile that slow, steady smile of his and say, better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. But it got heavier. He started spending a lot of time on his computer, on forums I couldn't understand. He'd talk about grid-down scenarios, about solar flares, about economic collapse. He started buying things in bulk, water purifiers, MREs, those military meals, silver coins. Malia, I remember talking to Malia on the phone about it, maybe a month before they vanished. I asked if she was worried. I can still hear her laugh, that light, airy sound. Oh, you know Michael, she said. He just likes having a project. It's his hobby. It keeps him busy. There was a pause, and then she said something that didn't stick in my head until years later. He's getting a little intense, she said. He wants to build a storm shelter, a really, really big one, but it's fine, Jess. He'd never hurt us. He loves us. He's just protective. He was protective. That was the word we all used for him. Protective, sturdy, safe. Then came last year. 2024, the summer was brutal, a record-breaking drought, the kind that turns rivers into muddy cracks and makes the whole world brown and brittle. The ground itself was shrinking, pulling away from foundations, cracking open. And on July 19th, almost 7 years to the day they vanished, my phone rang. It was a number I hadn't seen in a while, but I knew it instantly. Detective Riley. Jessica, he said. His voice was flat, heavy. He was retired, but I knew he still kept an eye on their file. Jessica, I'm not officially on this, but a buddy of mine at the county sheriff's department called me. They're out on a piece of land, a remote plot out by the old limestone quarry. It's registered to a holding company, but the company, it traces back to Michael. My heart did that sick, familiar lurch. What land? Michael didn't own land out there. He did, apparently, Riley said. Bought it back in 2016, paid cash. It's just scrubland. Nobody's been out there in years. But the drought, Jessica, the ground has shifted. A utility worker checking the line saw something, a corner of something metal sticking out of the dirt. I didn't even ask. I just grabbed my keys. I'm on my way. Where is it? I drove. I drove with my knuckles white on the steering wheel, my stomach churning with that toxic cocktail of hope and dread that every family of a missing person knows. Hope for an answer, dread for what that answer might be. When I got there, it was like a scene from a movie. The land was just miles of dead yellow grass and skeletal trees. In the middle of it all were 2 police cruisers, an unmarked car, and a big county excavation truck. The air smelled like dust and hot metal. I saw Riley standing by his old sedan, his back to me. I got out of the car. The crunch of my shoes on the dry gravel was the only sound. Riley? He turned. His face, I'll never forget the look on his face. It wasn't pity, it was anger. A deep, cold anger. It's a hatch, Jessica, he said, pointing. I looked past him. The excavation team had cleared the dirt away. There, set into the cracked earth, was a square, heavy-gauge steel door, like something you'd see on a submarine. It had a large wheel for a handle. It's a bunker, I whispered. He built his storm shelter. My mind was racing. Was there a struggle? Did someone put them in there? I was still thinking kidnapping, still thinking of some outside monster. We don't know, Riley said, his voice grim. It's locked. From the inside. The team they're cutting it open. We stood there in the screaming heat of that July afternoon and listened to the high-pitched metallic scream of a plasma cutter. It felt like it was cutting right through my ribs. It took an hour of me pacing, of Riley staring, of the deputies just waiting. Then the scream stopped. There was a loud groaning sound of metal on metal, a rush of air, and a smell. A smell. Oh God, a smell of decay, of mold and rust and death. An old, stale, trapped smell. The deputies, their faces green, backed away. Two of them, braver, put on masks and went down with flashlights. I waited. That was the story of my life. Waiting. Waiting for Malia to show up for coffee. Waiting for a call. Waiting for a ransom note. And now waiting for a man to climb out of a hole in the ground and tell me what he'd found. It was only a few minutes. It felt like a lifetime. A deputy climbed back up the metal rungs, his face pale. He pulled his mask off and took a long, gasping breath of the hot, dusty air. He looked at Riley. He didn't look at me. It's not a shelter, detective, the deputy said, his voice shaking. It's a room, a concrete room. There's a crib in there, a 2-tiered crib. My blood went cold. I stumbled. The park selfie. The image was right there in that split second in my mind. The second image. The one from the thumbnail. A dark concrete room, a single bare bulb, and a wooden 2-tiered crib. The police had shown me that photo just last week. It was from inside. No, I whispered. No, that's not possible. Riley looked at me, and his eyes were broken. Jessica, we found them. I'm so sorry. We found remains, 3 of them. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just folded. I sank to my knees on the hot, cracked dirt. The monster wasn't out there. The monster wasn't a stranger. The monster was Michael, the man in the picture, the man who had sent that text. Perfect day at the park. The days that followed are a blur, a haze of police stations, coroner's reports, and the bunker. They had to treat it as a crime scene, a complex one. It took weeks to process everything, to understand. The investigation wasn't a manhunt anymore. It was an archaeological dig into my brother-in-law's mind, and I was the only one who could help them translate. Riley sat with me day after day as we went through what they found. First, there was the bunker itself. It was about 10 feet by 15 feet. Poured concrete, a heavy, sealed, blast-proof door. He had built it himself, funneling money from his contracting business into this secret project for over a year. He'd told Malia he was building a simple storm cellar. He was building a tomb. Inside, it was a nightmare of preparedness. The walls were lined with shelves, canned goods stacked to the ceiling, barrels of water, medical kits, gas masks, and in the corner, that crib. It was a metal, vintage-style bunk bed, but with crib railings. He had built it, custom-made, 1 level for Thomas, 1 level, I suppose, for a future child. Or, I don't know. I don't know what he was thinking. And on a small metal desk, they found his journals. Michael wasn't just a casual prepper. He was a zealot. He was part of an online community that truly, deeply believed the world was ending. They had a date. August 5th, 2017, the day after the park selfie. They called it 0 Day. They were convinced a massive coronal mass ejection, a solar flare, was going to hit the planet, fry the entire electrical grid, and send the world back to the dark ages. I sat with Detective Riley in a sterile interview room, my hands shaking as we read through the entries. March 2017, the concrete is poured. Malia doesn't suspect a thing. She thinks it's a foundation for a workshop. She is so trusting. It's why I must protect her. June 2017. The air filtration system is installed. It's a top-of-the-line military-grade NBC nuclear biological chemical system. It will keep them safe. It will keep my family safe. The sheep on the surface will burn. We will remain. July 2017, Malia is asking questions. She found a receipt for the MREs. I told her it was for a camping trip. She's getting suspicious. She said I'm scaring her. How can I make her understand that I'm not what she should be scared of? The world is the threat. I am the ark. And then the final entries. They were in a different notebook. A smaller leather-bound one they found tucked inside a pillowcase on the adult-sized bunk. The first entry was dated August 4th, 2017, the day of the selfie. 10:00 a.m. The world is beautiful today. The sky is blue, the sun is shining. The sheep are all bleeding. They have no idea. Tonight the sky will set for the last time. I took Malia and Thomas to the park. I wanted them to have one last perfect day. I wanted that to be their final memory of the old world. Malia even smiled. She's been so tense lately, but today she smiled. I had to stop. I ran to the bathroom and was sick. That selfie, that perfect day, it wasn't a celebration. It was a farewell tour. It was a lie. I went back into the room. Riley just pushed the water bottle toward me. I kept reading. 6:00 p.m. I told her it was time. I said, we're going on a trip, a surprise. I drove them to the property. When she saw the hatch, she knew. She finally understood. She didn't thank me. She screamed. She called me a monster. She grabbed Thomas and tried to run, tried to get back to the truck. She said she was going to call her sister. She said she was going to call Jessica. She doesn't understand. Jessica is a sheep. Jessica will burn with the rest of them. My hands were shaking so hard I couldn't hold the page. Riley read the next part aloud, his voice a low, steady rumble. I couldn't let them go, he read. I couldn't let them die up there. I had to help them. I had a sedative for panic. I told her it was for the transition. I put it in the juice I'd brought for them. Thomas was asleep in minutes. Malia, she fought. But she was so tired. I carried them down. I carried them both down into the ark. They are safe. The steel is sealed. The air is pure. They are safe. I saved them. I looked at Riley. He drugged them? He dragged my sister. He dragged them into that hole? Riley just nodded, his face grim. Keep reading, Jessica. It gets worse. The next entry was dated August 5th, 2017. 0 day. 8:00 a.m. We are alive. The world above us is, I don't know. I can't hear anything. The concrete is thick. Malia is awake. She is not grateful. She is broken. She's been screaming for hours. She keeps hitting the door, but it won't open. It's built to withstand a blast. She doesn't understand. She is safe. Thomas is still sleepy, but he's safe. Why doesn't she understand that I saved her? Why does she hate me for saving her life? The entries continued. For 3 more days, he logged their descent into madness. He logged my sister's terror. August 6th. She's quiet today. She's just holding Thomas, rocking him. She won't eat. She won't drink. She just stares at the wall. I told her, when the air is clean, we will emerge. We will be Adam and Eve. She didn't answer. The air, it feels a little heavy. The generator keeps stalling. The scrubber, the low flow light is blinking. I must have installed the exhaust incorrectly, but it's fine. It will be fine. I'll fix it tomorrow. August 7th. It's hard to write. The air is so thick. I'm so sleepy. The generator must have stalled in the night. The CO alarm. The battery must be dead. It didn't go off. Thomas, he's just sleeping. He looks so peaceful. Malia, she's asleep too, on the cot holding him. She finally stopped crying. And then the last entry. The handwriting was a barely legible scrawl. I'm so tired. The blast. It must have been worse than I thought. The filter. Broken. But it's okay. We are together. We are safe from the fire. We will sleep and wake up in the new world. I saved them. I saved. His words trailed off the page. He hadn't saved them. He had suffocated them. The coroner's report confirmed it. Massive carbon monoxide poisoning. The generator, which was in a small adjoining chamber, had a faulty exhaust. He had installed it himself, and he'd installed it wrong. He had pumped his ark, his safe place, full of poison. He gassed his own family. The monster wasn't a kidnapper. The monster was a savior. The grief I feel now in 2025 is so different from the grief I lived with for 7 years. That old grief was a cold, empty house. This new grief is a house on fire. The not knowing was a torture, but the knowing is an agony. I think about that park selfie. It's not on my nightstand anymore. It's in a box. I can't look at it. When I see it now, I don't see a happy family. I see a predator and his victims. I see his smile knowing it's their last day. And I see my sister's smile. And now all I can see is the tension in her jaw, the exhaustion in her eyes. She wasn't just a tired mom. She was a woman who was living with a man who was slowly, quietly losing his mind. And she was trying to protect him. She was trying to laugh it off, to keep the peace. She was trying so hard to believe the man she loved wasn't a monster. We had a funeral. Finally, 7 years late. We buried 3 empty caskets because the bunker was their tomb. The county declared it a biohazard and filled the entire concrete structure with more concrete. It's just a solid block of stone under the ground now. I sold their house. I couldn't even walk up the front path. That sippy cup on the counter, the wallets by the door, it wasn't a disappearance. It was a staging. He had left it all there. That to what? To make it look like they'd been taken? Or did he just not care? I don't know. I'll never know. All I know is that my sister was stolen from me, not by a stranger, but by a protector, by a man who loved her so much he couldn't bear to let her live. What do you do with that kind of truth? How do you even begin to move on from something like that? Subscribe if you believe every truth, no matter how dark, eventually surfaces.